Honourable Member for Dawson has the call.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I have three issues to put to the Minister. The first regarding the upgrade of the Bruce Highway from Van Tassel Street in Townsville to the Flinders Highway. Now, the Minister would know of this. There's $110 million that's been announced in the budget for this project, and certainly it was something that the government was going to remove altogether to pay for the flood reconstruction in Queensland, but only after campaigning by the Liberal National Coalition did it get reinstated in the budget. So that is a good outcome. But I have written to the Minister, and I believe that the Townsville City Council has written to the Minister, and perhaps the Minister has also received correspondence from the Townsville racetrack, the racing club, turf club there, about some issues that the community have with the upgrade of that road, and I'm just wondering if the Minister is aware of that and what the Minister is actually going to do about those concerns. The second issue I refer to is regarding the Bruce Highway. Now, the Minister, I believe, and the Prime Minister came to Rockhampton to announce a supposed $4.1 billion Bruce Highway package. We later found out that roughly $1.76 billion of that was already announced funding, so really that leaves around $2.4 billion to be spent over the next 10 years. Now, the Department of Main Roads in Queensland has a Bruce Highway action plan where they say that $6 billion over the next 10 years is needed for the highest priority projects on that highway. That $2.4 billion that you've allocated over the next 10 years isn't even half of what's needed, obviously. Now, the Minister will say, and probably respond, I know, with that all of that $1.76 billion was announced after the Bruce Highway Action Plan came into effect. But the question is, and I suppose that answer will really only fly if the $1.76 billion in funding that's already been committed out of that $4.1 billion is for projects that are actually contained within the Bruce Highway Action Plan. So my second question to the Minister, can he assure me and indeed the House that out of that $4.1 billion that's been allocated, including the 1.76 that's already been allocated, that all of it is going to projects that are actually identified in the Bruce Highway Action Plan? And the follow-on question is, if not, if there can't be an assurance there, what projects are we going to miss out on? Will the Horton River Bridge be something we miss out on? Will the upgrade of Sandy Gully near Bowen be something that we miss out on? Will the planning for Gaganga Plains and the Whitsundays be something we miss out on? And I get to the Ring Road. There was a visit by the Prime Minister on the 24th of April to Mackay, and she announced that the Ring Road would be funded by the government. There weren't details, but she told reporters that in the budget the Ring Road would be included. Now, we've got the budget before us. There is no line item mentioning the Ring Road whatsoever. No line item. There's no mention of the Ring Road in the budget. Now the key question is, there have been indications made to journalists by the Prime Minister, by the Minister, and indeed by the Labor candidate in the electorate of Dawson, that the Ring Road funding will be available in the 2013-14 financial year. Now, I want a clear answer from the Minister, a yes or a no. A yes or a no, will the Ring Road funding be made available in the 2013-14 financial year?
I thank the member. The question is that the proposed expenditure be agreed to. The Minister has the call.
I'm very pleased to get this question from the member opposite. It seems he doesn't understand budgets and he doesn't understand infrastructure the way that it happens. The Department of Main Roads, Queensland, his Tory colleagues, run the projects in terms of the Van Tassel Street issue that he raises, in terms of that upgrade. The process of the implementation, the management of the projects is done by the Queensland LNP government. Okay? It's not that hard, mate. It's not that hard. You should be able to work that out. So in terms of issues with regard to specific details of construction, the Department of Main Roads. We provide money to the Department of Main Roads. You have a contract between the federal and state government. They then manage the project. with regard to the funding that is in the budget. He also doesn't seem to understand that what you have as line items in the budget are funding for the Bruce Highway. He said he's produced some ads on the Mackay Ring Road, which is bizarre because the quotes that he uses to say what the promise is, and I read from his ad, he says, and said funding, this is the Prime Minister, said funding would be sourced from a federal infrastructure scheme known as Nation Building 2. Okay, so that is the commitment of the Prime Minister. And then the broken promise, according to you, this is your ad. The broken promise that he says is Infrastructure Australia, we are now in a position to release a preliminary schedule of new projects to be funded and delivered over the life of the 5-year life of our next nation building program, which is Nation Building 2. So we said we'd fund it under Nation Building 2. Your ad says Nation Building 2 begins in... Nation Building 2, you nong. It's in the ad. It's in the ad that you produced. 2014-15. Oh, I withdraw. That's a compliment. 2014-15 to 2018-19. It's there in your ad.
Thank you.
And in terms of, thank you, fair dinkum. You can't help some people. We have funding in the current financial year, 2013-14. The funding is there for the community consultation for the Mackay Ring Road, which I announced in Mackay, which closes next month. We're funding it, you nong. We're funding it. It's not hard. We're funding it. What you do is...
Will you not use that language? Withdraw.
I withdraw. So what you have is, it's not that complex, mate. And you should talk to the member for Gippsland about the way that he approaches infrastructure investment in his seat. He makes approaches as a member of the National Party. When it's there, he gives credit when it is there. He says, this is a good thing for my electorate, and he asks for more. That's what he does. That's what a good local member does. What you do is when you get money for planning, $10 million, not a cent from the state government, not a cent, totally funded by us to do the planning. We've released now for community consultation the proposed route. That's out there. The community consultation, that funding will go into 2013-14. That's funding under Nation Building 1. We have program for the Mackay Ring Road, planning in Nation Building 1, which is 2013-14, and then construction in Nation Building 2. That's what the Prime Minister said. That's what the Prime Minister said. That is what is there. And in yesterday's state budget, 85% of the $587 million the Queensland government said was being committed to the Bruce Highway is funding from us. 85% is from the federal government. From the federal government. They went on a road trip and you haven't promised a zack, not a cent of funding for the Bruce Highway. But come in here and get critical about funding for your electorate. You are one of the only members of parliament I've ever seen in the entire time I've been here, 17 years, who've complained about funding being in your electorate. You've campaigned against it. You've campaigned against it, and you need to do your job.
The Minister